ASMR video. This one is kind of just going to be random. I have a new setup that I'm kind of trying to test out. I did a little tester video on it, and it worked well, so we're just going to try it again. Basically, I have a much better setup for ASMR. I don't have binaural yet. I don't have two microphones. That's something I want to do at some point, but that's gonna have to wait a little bit. Oh, jeez. I'm sorry. But that's just gonna have to wait a little bit. But I now have a microphone stand, so my microphone is no longer on a little desk stand that, when you get the Blue Yetis, you get the little itty bitty stand that kind of hugs it, and you just set it on your desk, and that's just it. This is actually a microphone arm, so it's clamped to the back of my desk. It can't move. It can pivot, and I can move it to where I need to, but it physically can't move from where it's set. That means my microphone is now suspended. So that means if I do manipulate things on my desk, you guys won't be able to hear it, or if I need to move the microphone, I might be able to do it without disrupting you guys very much. I moved it just a little bit there, with that, I also got a couple of things. I have a Furry mic cover, so I can make fur sounds and, head pats and scratch sounds now. And I also have a foam mic cover that came with the set. I ordered it as a set, and with that set, I also got a pop filter. So on top of the mic cover, I also have a pop filter, so I can speak normally and not have to be super careful with my S sounds and my P sounds. So that's really exciting. That's probably what I'm most excited for here. And yeah, with the microphone arm, it also came with a pop filter. So I actually have two pop filters. I'm not using both of them, but I do have them. So that's really, really neat. And I just kind of wanted to mess around with that today, and also see kind of how it sounds, and put something out for you guys. I have really enjoyed making these. The first video got quite a bit of a lot more attention than I thought it would, but I guess ASMR is just popular. But yeah, I do enjoy making these, no matter how many or how few people do actually watch them. They are quite enjoyable and relaxing to make. So I'm just gonna continue to do that. There are some different ASMR ideas that I have that I want to get into. I want to. One thing that I've been really into lately is tutorial ASMR, where people they'll get their niche, what they're good at, what they're passionate about, whether it has to do with their job, their career, or just a hobby of theirs, and they'll show a tutorial on how to do it, but it's ASMR. So I wanted to do that. My niche is flying, so I wanted to possibly make a flight plan or something with ASMR. I would have to figure out how I'm gonna do that. I currently record my audio with Audacity. I do have OBS, so I can do that, but I would have to make sure that I know how to edit it before I make it. And then also, just rambles about airplanes and whatnot. We'll probably do a little bit of that here today. But, probably something. My favorite type of ASMR is rambles, so that's probably what I'll do most of. But, also just figuring out what other people want to hear, and then I can do those as well. So if somebody wants scripted stuff, I did mention in my first video that I'm probably not gonna be the biggest script ASMR person, but I certainly will try. I would like to give everything a shot, find what works best, So anyway, let's get started. Just random things on my desk. We'll start there. Everything always always changes. Obviously, I have my microphone stand, so I had to move a couple of things. Those little glass Dr. Pepper bottles that I have, I had to move. I also have really nothing much has changed, but I did get a new pen, and I did get a new pen, and it is an O-Light. O-Pen Glow is what it's called. It's a more high-dollar pen, and it is supposed to be really good, and a lot of people recommend it, so I figured I would give it a shot. I am a massive pen collector. Do not trust me with your pens, because if it is a nice pen and you do not ask for it back, and I put it in my pocket and I forget about it, you're not getting it back. But this, I don't have to steal this because it is mine. But this is it's a really nice pen. It's got bolt action kinda. So you take the little slider and you slide it over and hook it, and then there it goes. So there's that. You can probably hear it. Sorry, I just bumped the mic. So it's not a clicky pen, but it is it's fairly satisfying to use. I wrote with it a little bit. It is fairly nice to use as well. It's got a nice weight to it. It's not super heavy, but it's not super light. It's got like a metallic construction. It's got a light in the paper clip. It has got a light on the pen tip as well, like inside the tip. So if I just do that, I'm struggling to do it. I'm still trying to figure out how this pen works. Oh, does it have to be out? Yes. Okay, I'm figuring things out. I'm still learning this pen. So if the pen tip is out, like you have the pen extended to where the tip is out, and you're writing, and you try to turn on the light, it has a little light like physically inside the tip of the pen, so that way when you pull up to a paper, you can see it, but it's not like blinding. So that's really neat. And then when it's outside, the pen clip is what lights up. And it has 3 different settings. Now, when I bought it, I could have sworn it had a laser too, but I could be wrong. And if it does, then I don't know how it works, because I haven't been able to figure it out. But and you might think, it's a pen, so it has to have batteries. It actually is charged. It's a charged battery. So you have a charger, and you plug it in, and then you just put the tip of the pen in the charger, and in the tip where the light is and where the where the writing part comes out, the ballpoint, there's a little copper ring, and you just put it in the charger, and it sits there horizontally, and it just charges the battery, which is really neat. I'm nerding out about a pen, but here we are. So that's really neat. Every single day I need a pen. It's a necessity for my career, which right now I'm in flight school, and pilots need pens all the time. But it's also useful for what I do now. I work in a restaurant. I'm in charge of to-go orders. I have to write things on tickets a whole bunch, and now I have a nice pen to do it with. However, I don't know if I'm going to take that to work, because it is a nice pen. And if you take nice pens to restaurants, they tend to disappear and get stolen. So yeah, metallic construction, maybe some good tapping sounds. I don't know if you guys can hear that at all, but I wish I could figure out if there was a way to, I think it's picking it up a little bit. But yeah, I wish there was a way I could get it to feed back into my headphones, so that way I could make sure things sound good. But I don't know how to do that. I know there's a way, but I don't know how. Yeah. One sad is I dropped this pen already. I got it today and I dropped it, but I didn't just drop it on the ground. I dropped it in the toilet, which was awful, and I hated that. And I was so mad at myself. I had to take it all apart and dry it out and really clean it because that's gross. So yeah, I got mad at myself for that, but it still works really well and it's clean. I promise. I washed it a whole bunch, soap, water, the works. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Anyway, sorry, enough nerding out about a pen. In my last episode, I also nerded out about 2 like Alistair Kane pens. For those of you who are familiar with Aspen Hotel, you guys will know what Alistair's microphone cane looks like. I also have pens for that. This pen also came with an extra ink cartridge, so when this one runs out, I can change it over. It also came with like a magnet. It's still in the packaging. Open that up. It's got I don't know what that is actually. It's got a little like sticker thing. Is this a sticker or is it a magnet? I don't have anything that would. It's a magnet. Okay, this part is a magnet. It's a sticky magnet. Okay, so I don't know where I would put that. And there's another sticky pad for it. Okay. I have 0 clue where I would put that or what I would use it for, but there we go. Let's see, a couple more things. We've got the cardboard that it came in. We got the box. It came in like a faux paper thing. So some nice tappy sounds. Oh shit, sorry. I need to get used to the proportions of where my microphone is now. I keep hitting things. Ooh, another good ASMR idea would be like an unboxing ASMR. So when I do get something new, I just unbox it on ASMR. That would be a good, neat idea, I guess. There's the shell that it came in. A little bit of a different sound. Again, I don't think this microphone is currently capable of binaural. If it was, this would be so good. I would be enjoying myself a little bit more. Alright, let's see. I don't really have all that much on my desk that I haven't already used in an ASMR video. Basically what that means is I actually have to start having ideas for ASMR episodes. And you guys need to tell me what you guys like to hear if you would like. Here's the old microphone stand, the one that came with the Blue Yeti microphone. So yeah, there we go. Right. So what else should we do? We could well let's do some rambles. I've said I wanted to talk about airplanes for quite some time. In a few of these episodes now, so I suppose I could start to talk about them. Or I guess my journey with aviation. I don't know. I don't want to like awkwardly just segue into different random things with no cohesive order or anything. So I don't know. I don't know if that makes good ASMR, but for those of us with ADHD, you guys don't know what that's like. All right. Let's see here. Well, I guess fuck it. We could talk about a little bit about airplanes, and we can make a whole episode talking about that as well. But just to sort of introduce it, I obviously have mentioned. If you guys have watched my other videos, my first one I mentioned that I'm in flight flight school for about, I want to say 2 years almost. 2 years almost, and I'm about to get my second certification, which to some people might sound like not very many certifications for how many years I've been in school. There's been some road bumps. I could go on and on about my journey so far. But basically, I started right after high school. I graduated high school. I had my graduation party. Family in town. They all went back home. I went on a senior trip to England, which was an amazing time. And then I went, and then I came back, and then I started flying. My first flight instructor was actually a furry as well, which was a neat coincidence. He found out because I sent him a picture of the weather radar on my iPad, but I was also watching a furry ASMR video. And I had like the little thing on the corner of my screen, and my instructor responded with, "Oh, whoa, what's this?" So that was kind of funny. He ended up leaving because he didn't like some of the things that were going on at my flight school at the time. My flight school, it's a little small flight club, and when they were first getting started, when I joined, they weren't. There were some things that they were still trying to figure out, and he didn't like that, and so he left very suddenly. He left, and I didn't have an instructor for like a month. And then I got put with a different instructor, and this instructor I thought was great. Until it went time to go take my private pilot check ride, which is basically like taking your driving test but for flying. And I realized, I looked through the ACS, the Airman Certification Standards, which is a little book that tells you everything that you need to display on a check ride, and what your limits are, what's your window of error, where your margins are, and basically there was a few things in there that I have never been taught, so so that instructor actually didn't do shit for me. Basically just helped me accrue flight timing. You know, he did teach me all the basic things, but he didn't actually go any into what I would need to pass a check ride. So I actually had to get with a third instructor who then took me the rest of the way. And speaking of check rides, those are nightmares. Not only are they nerve-wracking because it's literally you sitting in an airplane with a usually older guy with tons of experience with a little clipboard taking notes the whole time. That's basically what they're doing. To make sure that, obviously they're making sure you're safe to fly an airplane, but they're, it's a little nerve-wracking. And then there's an oral exam where you have to, where you're sitting in the room with that same guy for an hour or an hour and a half, and basically you're just talking about airplanes, just having conversations. He's asking you questions, you're giving him answers. It doesn't sound that bad, but it is nerve-wracking. I cried my first oral exam. That was not a fun time. But anyway, my first check ride was supposed to be in like February of last year, and I actually ended up getting my check ride done in June. So it went from February to June. That was a nightmare. So the first couple of times it was canceled because of weather. It was still wintertime, and the weather where I live is crazy in the wintertime, so that's understandable. Then I went in to actually go take my check ride. We got through the oral exam and the weather had went to shit, so we had to discontinue the check ride, which basically means, hey, we've gotten this much done. We don't have to do that again. We have to just make sure that we get the rest done. But if you don't take your check ride within 2 months, then you have to redo the oral exam, which sucks ass, but show up to the airport to see if the weather would calm down, when it would be forecasted to. You know, he told my instructor things like if he would have flown today, I would have failed him, or whatnot, and that's just not things that you're supposed to say. Especially to a new private pilot who's trying to get into things. So that was awful, and I did not like even attempting to go fly with this guy. And the 2 times that we actually did get as far as getting in the airplane and starting up and taxiing out to the runway, something happened to the airplane that canceled the check ride, or like an instrument failure. I think I had 2 instrument failures in that span of time from February to June. So yeah, that was not a great time, but yeah. And now I've been flying for another year. I went to get that check ride done. I had to fly from Colorado to New Mexico in a small airplane, renting it the whole time. And it's an hourly cost based on how much time the airplane has flown. And then you fly. So we had to fly down to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we had to get it done there. And that's another adventure there. We flew down. That was my first IFR flying experience. IFR stands for Instrument Flight Rules, and basically what that is flying in the clouds when you can't see anything out the window. You need a special certification to do that, which makes sense because, you can't see where you're going. When you get your private pilot's license here in the United States, you're taught to fly based on seeing outside. You can see the horizon, you can see the ground, you can use your instruments. They teach you how to use your instruments, but your primary source of navigation and your primary source of flying the airplane is looking outside. And with instrument flying, that's not possible because you can't see where you're going. So we had to file IFR. I got my first instrument lesson that time. And then we flew over. We were flying in a cloud. That's the first time I've ever had to storm dodge as well. We had to dodge storms on the way there. It was a little crazy. Then we went down, did the check ride. This check ride went really well. I passed. And then we wanted to fly home, but there was a whole bunch of awful weather, storms, powerful thunderstorms. So we couldn't leave. But the small airport that we were staying at, the terminal closed at 9, and the storms were not supposed to be out of the area by 9. So basically, we would have lost access to our airplane and to our rental car. So we would have either had to Uber around and then come back to the airport and hope that there was a gate for us to go through, or wait till the next day to go back. We decided we didn't want to do that. So before we saw the storms coming, before the storms got there, we had to quickly hop over from the small general aviation private airport to the international airport, which was an experience. And this is when the storms were closing in, so we took off. And because small airplanes especially, you want to take off into the wind, so we had to fly basically right at the storm, because that was the runway that favored the winds, put us right into the storm. So we didn't fly into it, but we got pretty close. We had to fly towards it, and then they told us to stay a certain distance past a radio beacon before contacting the international airport, and we told them, yeah, we can't do that, or we're gonna end up in the thunderstorm, and we're in a little Cherokee. So we had to. So when we did contact the international airport, they tried to be mad at us, and we were like, well, we're not gonna die today, so sorry, but we need to come in and land. They let us land. They came in. They were very understanding and cooperative. They were just wondering what the hell was going on, and then we landed there right in the nick of time, because then that's when the weather went to shit. We landed, and that's when the wind really, really, really started to pick up. We taxied off the runway. There was stuff blowing around. PIC time is, pilot in command time. Because you can't log that without an instructor when you're training, but you can't log that if there's an instructor in the airplane while you're training. You can only log that on solo flights, but now you can log it every flight, which is nice. I've lost my train of thought. God damn it. Oh yeah, that was also my first time experiencing icing conditions, which is not good. Ice is really bad, especially for small airplanes that don't have any capability of shedding that ice. So we obviously we looked at the weather forecasts and the weather reports beforehand, and they forecasted the freezing level, which is the altitude at which the temperature is below freezing and therefore is conducive to icing conditions in visible moisture, i.e. flying in clouds. So we planned our altitude 2,000 feet lower than that, which was subsequently the lowest altitude that we could plan for the terrain. So we flew at that altitude and we were flying in snow at one point, and it was not good. We visibly saw accumulation, and we almost had to declare an emergency and land at a nearby airport because ice, even a small amount, as the thickness of very thin sandpaper, can be detrimental to an airplane's wing. It can increase drag by 40% and decrease lift by 30%. So, in other words, not good. So, we did end up flying out of it and flying to a lower altitude once we got past the terrain that we needed to avoid, like the mountains. And then it was smooth sailing from there. But that was also a fairly good learning experience. That whole trip was a good learning experience. And then I did my instrument training mostly with the same instructor, and then he actually had to, and it was actually basically forced out of my flight club because my flight club moved from one terminal at the airport to another. But at this terminal, my instructor used to work at this new terminal that we moved to, and they didn't like him, so they basically would not let him on the property. So he was forced to quit, and I had to get a new instructor, and this new instructor, she's lovely as well. I still miss my old instructor, but she's lovely, and I'm about to take my instrument check ride, which basically certifies me to fly in the clouds, and in visibility, and in conditions where visibility is less than ideal. So yeah, that's fun. I'm sort of starting to have the same experience, though, with this check ride that I did with the last one. Hopefully, it doesn't take 4 or 5 months to get this check ride done, but the first check ride date was for the very end of February. Actually, no, it was for the very beginning of March. So that was going to be fun, and then I was going to do it with the same examiner that I did it with last time, because, you fly with one examiner. If you fly with them again, they've seen you fly before. It generally makes your life a lot easier. But apparently he doesn't do check rides anymore, and apparently he didn't tell us that until a week before the check ride. So we said, okay, fine, we'll go with this other guy that everyone else is going with, which is the guy who's doing all the other check rides for my flight club. And apparently he's really nice. I hope he is. But he's really good, which means if you're off, there's not going to be getting away with it. He will know, and whether it's something that he can fail you for is depending on what you are not perfect on. They don't expect you to be absolutely perfect, but they do expect you to know what you're doing and to stay safe, and that's the primary thing that they're looking for. So yeah, I'm confident in my ability to pass the check ride currently, but I don't want to go through the saga where it keeps getting pushed back a week at a time. Okay, it's happening this week. Okay, no, it's actually happening next week. Okay, no, actually, it's happening the week after that. Because the guy that I wanted to do the check ride with couldn't do it, we had this schedule until early April, which the day I'm recording this is March 29th, and my check ride was supposed to be on April 3rd. And I just got a text the other day saying that something happened with this examiner's schedule, and he has bumped us to the 11th of April now, so now it's a week later than originally anticipated. That's the second time it's been bumped. So I am hoping that it isn't going to be one of those things where I can't get the check ride done because it keeps getting pushed back. That's really frustrating, and especially when I put all this hard work and all this effort into learning the stuff, getting the stuff that I need, and being proficient in it so that way I can pass the check ride. And, it's also, I have a dream to be an airline pilot, and I can't get there if I can't ever get a check ride done. So yeah, that's where I'm at now with flying, but otherwise, it's great fun. I fly little Piper Warriors, which are little 4-seat low wing, meaning the wings are not on the top, they're on the bottom. Propeller driven aircraft. Very good stuff, very good airplane to learn in. I've taken my friends on a couple of flights, like a couple of weeks after I got my license, there was a marching band DCI concert that I was going to with some friends. Basically, DCI is like professional level marching band stuff. Anyway, but so we flew up there, and that's another adventure, because when we flew there, I fell off the airplane when I was doing the pre-flight inspection back here at my home airport. But when I got off, I put pressure on it. It was fine. I could walk just fine. We did all the things. We fueled up. We took off. We landed. I went to go try and get out of the airplane. I could not put pressure on my left foot. And that scared me because we were a 2-hour drive north of home, and we were, an hour's flight north. So, we didn't go far, but we were still pretty decent ways from home in an airplane that it belongs to my flight club. So it's not like I can just leave it there and then come back later and pick it up. If I leave it there, it affects everyone else's schedule. So I kind of just toughed it out. I had to limp pretty much the rest of the day. I limped out to the airplane. I limped into the terminal, and then we got a crew car, which is basically a rental car but for pilots, and you can only use it for 24 hours, but there's no age limit. So as long as you have a valid driver's license, you can use it. So that was cool. We used that. We went to the gas station. We went out to eat at that place that we ate. I got a little bag of ice to put my foot on. That really helped. And by the end of the day, by the time it was time to fly back, I could almost put most of my pressure on my foot. But I was still limping around, and I was limping around the concert we went to. It was a little crazy. But we flew back, and it was a good time. On the flight to that concert, I had 2 friends with me. I had a work friend and another furry friend. And my furry friend gets motion sickness, and he didn't tell me. When we got in the airplane, I told everybody, hey, if you need to be sick, there are sick bags in the seat bag pockets, so use them if you need them. Don't throw up in the air, on the airplane. Don't throw up, not in that, so that way I don't have to try and clean it up, because I cannot handle puke or any of that. And he ended up hurling in his backpack, even though he had a sick bag right there. So that was funny, but also awful. He ended up sitting in the front, and he was so much better. Anyway, yeah, so that's some flying adventures for you. Hopefully I was able to relax you before you go to bed, or when you're waking up, or maybe you were stressed out and you're listening to this to help calm you down. whatever the case may be, I hope you enjoyed. I hope that I can continue to make something that people enjoy. And everybody, please have a good night or a good day or a good morning, whatever time you're listening to this. Have a good night. Be safe. You're loved. And I will see you next time. Have a good night.